Welcome back to the breakdown. It is Thursday, August 8th. We're going to talk about all 10 games on the MLB slate, give you who I think wins, over-unders, and then we're going to wrap up the video talking about some hot and cold hitters, which there's a lot of guys that are scorching hot right now, and then we're going to wrap up with some good and bad matchups, and today with some very interesting bad matchups, some guys that are very household names that haven't hit too well against the opposing pitcher they're going to face tonight. But we'll talk about that at the end of the video. As always, my name's Austin. I apologize. No breakdown yesterday. I was a little bit too busy in the morning, and it was a huge slate. Didn't have enough time to dive through all of those, but we're back with the breakdowns. We got another one today. We got another one tomorrow. Let's have a great rest of our week. Like I said, 10-game slate. We're going to dive right into it. It actually starts with a lot of early games, and we're going to start with this first one, which is the Giants versus Nationals. Now, if you are only curious about a couple different games, they're all timestamped down below, so you can certainly jump around here. Now, today we have Kyle Harrison versus DJ Hurst. Now, both of these guys, I feel like, are hard to predict. You never know what starts you're getting out of them. You have another 8.5, closer to 9 total. I mean, you look at the two offenses against opposing lefties. I mean, the Nats have been really good against lefties. I mean, they were able to get some stuff up on Blake Snell yesterday. And then you have this Giants offense has been really good against lefties as well. I just don't know if I trust both teams after two very high-scoring games for another third straight high-scoring game. Not sure I'm running out and backing the under here. I do lean an over here. In terms of who I think wins, kind of like the Nationals as home underdogs. They did lose yesterday. I like DJ Hurst a little bit more than Kyle Harrison. Kyle Harrison has his good starts, but I swear if you were to remove the Rockies starts against Kyle Harrison, that ERA that's like 4.1 or whatnot is probably like at a 6. I'm just saying, if you remove those Rocky starts, he's really struggled. So I do lean the Nationals here. Not sure it's a pick I'll do. It's an early day game. You never know what you're going to get with the bats, but I do lean the Nats here, except their bullpen has been just very, very bad. So if I'm maybe back in the Nats, maybe I'm looking at something first 5. I just don't want to go to that bullpen and see them blow a lead for DJ Hurst. So I do lean the Nationals, probably would only back them in the first 5 if I had to bet this game. Next game, we have Brewers taking on the Braves, a 9.5 total here. Braves looking to avoid getting swept. Is that correct? I believe so. We got Frankie Montas versus Charlie Morton. Obviously, Braves are going to be favored here, minus 145 with Morton on the mound. Montas hasn't been great. We're going to be honest, he hasn't been great all year. 5 ERA, 1.45 whip. The problem is the Braves offense. I don't know how you run out and want to lay juice on the Braves or want to back their bats anyways. Their bats just have been ice cold. And sure, they're better in OPS and WRC+, but they're not getting base runners. Sure, you can get your solo bombs, maybe a 2-run homer, but outside of that, you get a leadoff double. And while most teams are going to score that, I can't guarantee the Braves score that. They got a lot of guys striking out, and they just don't advance base runners. They don't steal bases either. It's just not a team I'm really too happy to back right now. Maybe when they get Michael Harris back, who I believe he's going, I want to say I saw him taking some swings or something like that. He should be back soon, hopefully, for him, because they certainly could use a guy that's consistently on base. Same for Ozzie Albies. They could use that, too. Who knows when he returns? I think he fractured his wrist or something like that. I don't 100% remember. But, again, this is probably Brewers or pass here. I don't really love this one. I do like Morton, though, so it's probably a game I avoid. I like Morton as a starter. I don't want to back the Brewers with Montas on the mound, but I also don't want to lay juice on the Braves. Probably just a game I'm going to be honestly avoiding. This next game is Padres versus Pirates. Now, I'm kind of leaning the Pirates here. Call me crazy. They lost an extra inning thriller yesterday. What was that, 9-8, that final score? They got Luis Ortiz against Randy Vasquez. The Pirates are actually a little bit favored here, minus 115, over under at 8.5. Now, obviously on paper, the Padres have been a much better offense against righties, but they have a tough task against Luis Ortiz. If you remove that last start against the D-backs, he's been arguably the best pitcher that the Pirates have trotted out there. I mean, sure, Paul Skeens, give him his credit, but Luis Ortiz deserves some respect. The problem with back in the Pirates here is Luis Ortiz's regression coming, or did it already start? And that's the question. Does he bounce back after a bad start his last outing? Could he? Maybe. But we look at this Padres lineup with Randy Vasquez in there. Vasquez has been good at home. It's been pretty bad on the road. Pirates bats are always hit or miss. You never know what you're getting from them. But I do like the Pirates a little bit here. I don't know if I want to fade a very hot Padres lineup. I mean, they're crushing it with runners in scoring position. Worth noting, Jerickson Profar, I believe, did leave their game yesterday. So we'll see if he plays today. Maybe not. Maybe he's going in for an MRI. We'll see. Just don't know if I want to run out and back the Pirates, given that bullpen disadvantage. But I do like their starter a lot more, and Luis Ortiz today, than Randy Vasquez. So maybe it's like a first 5 money line, very similar to what we talked about with the Nats. Don't know if I want to go to that Pirates bullpen. They just do some of their best arms too yesterday. Not sure that's a bullpen I want to trust a ton if I'm backing him on the money line full game. Maybe a first 5 money line would be something I'm looking at, though, there. Next game, we're going back down to the Coors Field. Mets versus Rockies. 3:10 star was at 12:10 local Denver time. David Ortiz versus Gomber. Now, on paper, we got the battle of the lefties. Obviously, Rockies a little bit of a home underdog, plus 135, 10.5 total. You've seen, obviously, the Mets have been good against lefties all year long, haven't been great recently. And then on the flip side, Colorado has been the worst offense against lefties. Do I want to back David Peterson is the question. His earned runs line around 2.5. Rockies' first 5 team totals around 2.5. No, I don't want to back David Peterson. He's one of the prime candidates for regression here. I mean, his expected, well, I'll look it up. David Peterson has what? A regular ERA at 3.52. His expected ERA is hovering in the, let's see what we got here on Baseball Savant. We're sitting at a 5.3 for his expected ERA. The guy has just not been good. One thing he's very good at, ground ball percentage, 93rd percentile. Now, if he can continuously get these ground balls, he'll be good. The problem with when you're going out to Coors Field is if you're needing some movement on your pitches, which he throws a lot of sinker or four seam, but then he throws some sliders, changeups, and stuff like that. Sometimes in Coors with that altitude, you don't get the same drop on your pitches. What happens is your slider, hanging slider, and if you're an MLB hitter, you can typically do something with it. The problem with that is the Rockies have been that bad against lefties. I mean, a 135 batting average, terrible. They've been terrible. I mean, 12 WRC plus, that is literally terrible. I lean an under in this spot. I just feel like the under looks too good. And we've already seen 2 games in Coors go under. How often does all 3 go under in Coors? I'd say not often. I still don't think the Rockies get up a lot of runs on David Peterson. Probably not a guy I want to back personally. If it was any other lefty besides Peterson, probably taking some under and earned runs here, but I'm probably not going to stick my neck out for that. I'd rather not. I'll probably avoid this game. Probably won't see it in any parlays either because Gomber's been a guy that's been really good at home. He has weird home, good, road, terrible. Well, at home, is a Mets team that obviously can hit him around if they want to. Again, this is probably not a game I want to touch, but both offenses haven't been great against lefties. We'll see how they do today. Next, we have Reds taking on the Marlins. Now, yesterday, scene of the crime here, I took the under 8.5. There was 10 runs scored. 5 of them came in the first inning. 8 of them came off of home runs, grand slams to be specific. 2 homers, 2 grand slams. What are the odds of getting 2 grand slams in a game? I mean, I'd imagine pretty dang low, and that's how we lost because there was a grand slam in the 7th or 8th or something like that from the Reds. So you get Hunter Green going against Kyle Tyler. Tyler, not a lot of starts under his belt. Obviously, not a shock to see the Reds as big favorites. Hunter Green's been arguably the best pitcher in the league over the last month or so. Again, this is Cincinnati Reds or pass here. I did think the Reds would lose yesterday, and I should have just trusted that, taking their team total under, which did hit, or Marlins on the money line. Made the wrong read there. I mean, still, I had a pulse. 2 grand slams is just annoying, but I lean, obviously, the Reds here. Hunter Green's been that good. Not sure I want to lay -1.5 on the Reds, but they get all 9 innings to hit, so easier to cover a run line, I feel like, on the road. When you get 9 innings, so if you need an extra cover run, you at least got that 9th inning at a chance of it. Still, probably not backing the Reds. I don't like laying -1.5 with them, but I do think they win this game with Hunter Green on the mound. He's just been too good. Kyle Tyler's not really a guy I want to back. I like the Reds bats a little bit here. I think they can get things going up on Kyle Tyler. I like them on the money line here. Not sure I want to lay that -1.5, but if you have to, you certainly can. Next game, we have Angels taking on the Yankees. What did they split the doubleheader yesterday? Yankees got smoked in that second one. Today, we have battle of the lefties. Tyler Anderson versus Nestor Cortez. 8.5 total, -275 for the Yankees on the money line. -1.5, -130, so a little bit juiced. Now, obviously, you're going to get the Yankees juiced at home. They've been much better against lefties recently, which is good to see. Prior to this last 2-week stretch, the Yankees were one of the worst teams in baseball against lefties. Angels have been one of the worst teams in baseball against lefties recently. They have just not been good. Cortez typically is dialed in at home. That's where you want to back him. If you are going to back Nestor Cortez, it is at home, not on the road. I think he pitched well here. The problem with backing the Yanks, and I'll save these guys for late, there's a couple good guys in here, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Not great splits against Tyler Anderson. Now, obviously, if those guys aren't doing production, well, good luck, Yankees bettors, because if those guys aren't producing for the Yanks, they are going to struggle here. I'll talk with them a little bit more later. I'm just going to pass here. Not a game I don't want to lay juice on a Yankees run line. I think Tyler Anderson's solid. Sure, he screwed me in his last start, but he always seems to go out there and give him a couple innings, and the Angels bullpen has been really, really good. So don't sleep on them. Next game, we have the Orioles taking on the Blue Jays. You have an over-under at 8.5 or 9. Orioles barely road favorites here. You see the Blue Jays at plus 100. You have Gausman versus Dean Kramer. Now, worth noting, Dean Kramer been a lot better on the road than at home for whatever reason. He's only allowing like a 190 batting average on the road this season. Toronto's been really good against righties. Both these teams really good with runners in scoring position. The bullpen's absolute trash. But in terms of the starters, I don't know if I'm going to take both these two teams to score in the first 5. I could see Gausman or Dean Kramer pitching decently. Dean Kramer is normally a fade for me, but every time I fade him, he becomes the best pitcher in the world. Gausman, on the flip side, like Kramer's good on the road, Gausman's been terrible at home. He has over a 6 ERA at home. The O's obviously have seen him a ton. They have some good splits against him as well. I lean it over in this game if you can get it at 8.5. I do think that Dean Kramer gives up some runs. Gausman gives up his runs, and then you just got to you got to hope each of those guys gives up at least 2, maybe 3, and then you get to the bullpens where there's plenty of opportunities late in this one. I do lean it over here at like 8.5, 9. Don't love as much, but I still think this game does go over this total. Next game, we have Rays taking on the Cardinals. This is honestly a series I don't really want to touch a ton of. You have Shane Baz versus Kyle Gibson, an 8.5 total. You see the Cardinals as slight home favorites. Still, the Braves have been so bad with runners in scoring position and against righties recently. Cardinals haven't been honestly much better. They've been actually pretty worse. Baz is not the guy I'm running out the back. Rays bullpen has been pretty good. This is probably just a pass here. I think the Rays get some chances on Kyle Gibson. This is a guy that gives up hits, 4, 5, 6 hits allowed. Can the Rays get the timely hits? That's what this comes down to. They haven't been getting them pretty much the last 2 weeks. Eventually that'll change, right? You'd think finally a team's going to start getting those hits, but the Rays just have not been a great offense, traded away some of their better bats. Have Christopher Morel, who's struggling, and we'll talk about in a little bit. I don't want to trust the Rays here. I don't want to trust the Cardinals either with Kyle Gibson on the mound. I don't really have a great lean on the total here. Again, just a game that I'm personally avoiding. These are two teams that you never get a good feel out of them. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but two teams that you just never know what you get. Next one, we have the Mariners probably trying to avoid a sweep because they've lost the first 2 games of the series. Once again, big favorites. So you got Brian Wu versus who I expect to be Kenta Maeda. Now, if Kenta Maeda starts, you might as well hammer the Mariners. Kenta Maeda sucks. And Brian Wu is really, really good. Problem is, I can't really give you a great lean here if I don't know exactly if Kenta Maeda is starting. If it's not Maeda, they might go with the bullpen game, throwing some lefties, some righties in there. And then I don't love back in Seattle as much, but Brian Wu's about as good as it gets for the Mariners these days. He's really, really good. I like them a lot better than Detroit. Sure, Detroit's put up some runs, whatever, the last few games, but I like Brian Wu a ton. He's really, really hard to see. I do like the Mariners here. Don't know if I want to lay minus 1.5, not even knowing who's going to start here. Probably a game I avoid because the Mariners steal my coin in every different way you can imagine. Game I'm avoiding. If Kenta Maeda doesn't start, I don't like the Mariners as much. If he does start, do like the Mariners. I think they win the game, but covering the run line, we'll see. But still, I really like Brian Wu. If it's someone different than Maeda, maybe look at a nerfy here, but it all depends on who's starting for the Tigers. You don't want to take a nerfy with Maeda on now. Trust me on that. And the final game of the slate is going to be the Phillies taking on the Diamondbacks. Now, the Phillies got a huge performance out of Kyle Schwarber last night. 4 hits, 3 home runs, 14 total bases. What do you have, 3 homers and a double? Insanity. Today, you got Colby Allard going on the mound on the road in Arizona, taking on Jordan Montgomery. Now, it's hard to find better offenses from Philly against lefties and Arizona against righties. I mean, Arizona's crushing all righties that come in their path. Jordan Montgomery has been a fade all year long, a 9.5 total. Phillies, slight favorites. They're like minus 115. D-backs are minus 105. Bullpen's not a huge advantage there. Honestly, I'm going to let you know on a parlay of the day leg is probably going to be both these teams scoring the first 5. I just don't see a way where J-Mo holds them scoreless and Colby Allard holds them scoreless as well. So you can add that into a parlay. I'm pretty confident that one's going to smack. Final game total, I do lean in over here at 9.5. J-Mo is just a fade, and I like both these two offenses. I normally don't want to back Philly right now against righties, but against lefties, he's been really good. And I really like Arizona. I mean, they could hit this over, and by just themselves, I mean, they've been so good. So leaning over here, but probably won't touch that because I will be on both these two teams to score in the first 5. At least one. If you want to take 2+, honestly, don't hate that either. I think this is a high scoring game. So I like that one in terms of runs being scored. In terms of who I think wins, nope, I can't back it. I just don't know who wins that game. That is a complete coin flip to me. Not a real edge either way. Finally, let's wrap up with some good or hot and cold hitters. Then we'll talk about some good and bad matchups. Hot and cold hitters. Kyle Schwarber's on here. He's scorching hot. Aaron Judge, Jackson Holiday, the rookie, returned from AAA. He's been scorching the baseball. Vladdy, Teoscar Hernandez, Josh Lowe, all these guys have been pretty good. All household names, and Jackson Holiday is going to become a household name. He's been so good. As for our guys that are ice cold, these guys, Ryan McMahon. Where you at, brother? 0 for 19. That's not great. Cedric Mullins, who isn't an everyday player, but 0 for 13. Christopher Morel, I talked to him, 0 for 13. Patrick Bailey, 1 for 24. The Giants catcher. And then Luis Ariz, 2 for 15. I tried to put in some hitters that you might look into. Luis Ariz, obviously struggling. I think he went 0 for 5 yesterday. Obviously, he's better than that, but he's been struggling. Again, those aren't all the guys with the lowest batting averages. There's a lot of other guys that are 0 for, but I want to put at least maybe Patrick Bailey, Luis Ariz, guys that you have heard of, you might want to back in some capacity. If you're putting Luis Ariz in your hit parlay, he hasn't been treating you too nicely, but obviously I do expect him to get a hit today. I don't bet against Luis Ariz. And finally, we look at good and bad matchups. This is a very interesting list here today. Let's talk about the good matchups first. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. versus Kramer, 8 for 25. So, decent splits. 4 homers, so 4 home runs in those 8 hits. Pretty solid. Brandon Nimmo, 5 for 9. All of those 5 hits are singles. Cedric Mullins, we just talked about cold. Good splits against Gosman. It's just the day he breaks out. 417 batting average for him. Santander, not great numbers, 4 for 15, but the 4 hits, 3 of them have left the yard. So 3 homers there, not bad. And Alex Verdugo, one of the only Yankees today, that actually has good splits against Tyler Anderson. 3 for 7 with the homer. Now, guys with bad splits, pair of Yankees on him. Top and bottom, Juan Soto, 3 for 17 with 5 walks. And Aaron Judge, 0 for 3, so small sample size, but does have 3 walks in there. Wouldn't shock me if Anderson's pitching around him. Willie Adames, who's had a pretty good series against the Braves, 2 for 17. Another Yankee in there, forgot about Stanton, 1 for 11. He's the guy right after Judge, so wouldn't shock me if Anderson's walking him. And Jorge Solero for 6 against Frankie Montas. Again, some guys that people like to back. Well, let's see how the Yankees bats do today. Again, 3 guys that are typically in their lineup. They have been struggling against Anderson. Let's see if they figure him out today. They obviously have seen him a ton because he's pitched for a while. We'll see if they figure him out today. That'll be an interesting one. I'm not probably going to back the Yankees in any way today. I'll just be watching to see how those splits do. And if they continue to be cold, then maybe we just start taking some unders and bases when they're facing bad matchups. Maybe we'll have to look into that. But that is that is Thursday's edition of the breakdown for August 8th, Thursday. Hopefully, you guys had a wonderful time with me. We'll have our best bets video out in a little bit, so go check out that. We'll have our parlay of the day live in a little bit. When both of those are live, I will link them on the screen. Have a wonderful Thursday. I'll be back again on Friday with some more then, and we'll also probably tomorrow have an Underdog fantasy entry, so get amped up for that. We'll stay tuned for that. Let's have a wonderful Thursday. Hope you win all your bets. I'll see you guys in our best bets video posted in a little bit. We'll see you there. Peace.